In every war, of course, there are profiteers, those who hover above the battlefield like carrion birds, feasting not on bodies but on the economies, the borders, the broken sovereignties, the opportunities. One such figure has re-emerged from the political graveyard of the post-Maidan Ukraine, Alexander Yanukovych, the dentist turned oligarch, the son of the exiled and disgraced pro-Kremlin president Viktor Yanukovych. And this isn't merely a story of illicit wealth, it's the anatomy of a parasitic business empire that thrives in the shadows of occupation, capitalizing on territorial theft and global tragedy. Let's have a look at it. After the Euromaidan revolution in 2014, Viktor Yanukovych fled to Russia with his family. His son, Alexander, once nicknamed the stormatologist for his background in dentistry, or stomatologist, I suppose I should say, had already built a fortune through a series of murky ventures in coal, gas, and property. By 2013, Forbes Ukraine placed his net worth at $500 million. Following their escape, Alexander's influence retreated from public view, but not from the economic map. Fast forward to 2023 to 2024, and we now know, thanks to investigative journalists from iStories, that his fingerprints are all over a vast coal export operation rooted in the Russian-occupied Donbass. And at the center of this scheme is Energoresources, a firm registered in the drab corner of Rostov-on-Don in Russia, which, of course, Liz Truss knows well, officially owned by a man named Alexei Ivanov, who incidentally worked for law firms tied to the Yanukovych clan since 2016. Energoresources exported nearly 500,000 tons of coal in 2023 to 2024. And the company's coal is sourced directly from occupied territories of Ukraine, mines in Donetsk and Luhansk that are now gutted, poorly regulated, and ripe for exploitation by parasites like Yanukovych. Coal from these regions is falsely declared as Russian in origin, transported via rail through stations like Uspenskaya, a tiny outpost dubbed the Bermuda Triangle of Russian rail by Ukrainian journalists, and thousands of rail cars are recorded as passing through, despite the station only having 4 tracks and no loading equipment. Fiction masquerading as infrastructure. Once this coal reaches the docks, it's then sold to an offshore entity, Energy Union, registered predictably in the British Virgin Islands. The sale price, an average $60 per tonne, well below the market value. And why such generosity? Because it's a shell game. This undervaluation allows Energoresources to dodge export duties, shifting the real profits to the offshore account. Energy Union then sells the coal at full price abroad, particularly to Turkey, which has become the primary buyer since EU sanctions in 2022 blocked Russian coal imports to Europe. Who owns Energy Union? Officially a man named Artem Opolinsky, but he also happens to be an employee of Energoresources, and his wife, Nadia Opolinska, has acted as a successor on loan agreements. This is a revolving door of proxies designed to obscure the trail back to Alexander Yanukovych. Energoresources received loans totaling millions from SL Holdings Limited, a Cypriot firm previously controlled by the CEO, Mako Holding, Alexander Yanukovych's crown jewel before the revolution. Other names, like Tatiana Kotova, listed as Tanya Yanukovych's house in phone books, reappear in ownership records. And this network of proxies, loans, and re-registered companies forms a spider web of Yanukovych corruption, a business predicated on illegally appropriated territory, fraudulent customs declarations, sanctions evasion, and the deliberate distortion of international trade norms. In 3 years, the operation is believed to have generated at least 3.5 billion rubles, though this figure is based on modest transfer pricing. The true profits are almost certainly higher. And this story matters not only for its economic audacity, but for its political symbolism. Alexander Yanukovych represents the return of the Ancien Regime, a figure from Ukraine's kleptocratic past who has embedded himself in the architecture of Russia's imperial present. He's the perfect hybrid, Ukrainian by birth, Russian by passport, offshore by design. His profiteering undermines Ukraine's sovereignty. It also reveals the parasitic nature of Russian occupation, which does not rebuild the Donbass but mines it, both literally and metaphorically. A Saruman in all but costume for personal gain. As Ukraine attempts to offer LNG gas storage to Europe to strengthen energy security, Yanukovych's operations do the opposite, funneling Ukrainian coal through false Russian channels to supply countries circumventing sanctions. Shocking.